What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down what moved it, what shorts did. Before getting to any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did do pretty good today, closed 1% in the green, especially given the circumstances of the market. But 1286 the low, 1332 the high, kind of low volume, but then again, that's somewhat normal for a Friday. So 60 million shares being traded, 63 is the average. So SoFi did put out a couple things today. One was PR first thing, and that was this right here, saying that they're going to be participating in some upcoming events. So June the 4th, they'll be at the 45th annual William Blair Growth Stock Conference. So Chris is going to be doing that one. And then you also have at the Mizuho Tech Conference, June the 10th, Chris is also going to be doing that one. Historically, SoFi is always closed green whenever they do these fireside chats. I don't know if there's some correlation to that or if it's just random luck, but SoFi does historically close green on days that they do fireside chats. So again, that's might be a good catalyst, something to keep in mind. Aside from that, after hours, SoFi did put out the results of their shareholder meeting that did occur. I believe it was on the Wednesday in the morning. And so everything was passed. So you did have right here the board of directors, the compensation, and then the actual accounting firm. So nothing really crazy if you ask me. Some people obviously care about it, some people don't. I'm more so for the no side, as I've kind of expressed to you. But in general, today, SoFi and just fintechs did do fairly good. So you had Robinhood also in the green, Upstart, and several others. So I feel like for once the market was actually acting rational because we did have good data. Most of the growth stocks went down because of this. So we did have PCE and also Michigan consumer sentiment coming in better than anticipated. Good data doesn't justify rate cuts. So this is why you did see this get hit quite dramatically. So for the September 17th meeting, you now have a 55.3% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut. So of course, that is not good whatsoever. And in general, like, yeah, that would affect a lot of stocks out there, but I think maybe SoFi and fintechs kind of moved higher because of actual good data, which is a absolute shocker. But nonetheless, though, today was just a absolute gong show. It's continuing after hours as well. So Trump just came out saying that he's going to be pretty much doubling the tariffs to, I think it's like 50% as a high for steel. So that would be just crazy. So most likely anticipate a lot of updates throughout the weekend because as you can kind of see, there was a lot of tensions throughout the day between the States and China. And most likely there's going to be a lot of back and forth over the weekend. And by Monday, if they don't come to some sort of resolution or China doesn't bend the knee, as what people like to call it, then anticipate the States to be slapping China with some sanctions, which the market most likely will not like. So that could make for a very interesting weekend and interesting upcoming week. But like I said, I think SoFi did do pretty good today. As far as when it comes down to shorts, they did increase a measly 569 shares. I've never seen anything this flat, but 13.69% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 148.62 million shares overall are being shorted. Cost to borrow minimum has been positive for around 3 or 4 consecutive days, so that's definitely good to see. And I think in general, shorts didn't really have any reason to double down. And a lot of that is linked to the options, especially considering where SoFi did close. But today you did see 7.57 million in calls, 4.67 million in puts. 48% of all the options being done today were bearish in nature. So even though you did see SoFi close in the green, you did see a certain level of bearishness through the options, which wasn't all that great. But based on the bulls, you see a consensus going into this upcoming week for it to be roughly around that 1350 to 14, bears for it to be sub roughly 1250. But as I mentioned, shorts didn't really have any real need to double down because looking at the open interest, you do have roughly 8,000 at that 13. So that's considered in the money. So that will cause maybe some market maker, or maybe that's actually even some after hours transactions over here. So there's a lot of big ones, 3.01, 1.1, 1.3, 1.3 right there. So I'm sure some of that is correlated with market makers covering that. right over here, that 8,000, but at that 1350 there was 22,000. If SoFi was to have gone close to that 1350, then shorts would have woken up, but with it closing where it did, shorts didn't really need to do anything. It was too far for them to try to manipulate it below 13, and it was too far away for 1350 for them to actually care. So this is why shorts just relaxed overall today. But aside from that though, with it closing at 1330, it is successfully above that 1323, so that pivot point. So a good target for going into next week is going to be that 1366, and then 1323 is going to be that strong support. So yeah, pretty good stuff. SoFi recovering on a technical viewpoint, and it is going to be getting close to that 100-day moving average. But there was a new analyst rating that did come out. No official rating, but you did have a hold rating, Seaport, and that was done today. I believe it shows unknown analyst. They'll probably update over the weekend, but I believe his name is Gil. From Seaport, and he generally is very, very bullish. I kind of saw some articles talking about that actual new article, that rating, and a lot of growth. That's ultimately what Gil was saying. So yeah, let me know your viewpoint on that in the comments below. Aside from just that new rating, there wasn't really all that much in coming out, so just kind of regurgitating the recent news. So this one right here about them participating in some upcoming events, the shareholder meeting results, nothing overly crazy. But aside from all that fun stuff though, like I said, it is pounding at that 100-day moving average door. So most likely going into next week, you are going to see a very nice pinch. So currently it is wedge bound between that 100 and ALMA, essentially meaning we will either see a very nice push higher or a little bit more of a breakdown back into kind of this range between that ALMA and that 50-day moving average. In my opinion, I am leaning more so towards the breaking out type of scenario playing out. So I think just generally SoFi wants to stay within that $13 to $17 range, and it's been very much suppressed for a while now. So I think just generally it is ready for a nice FOMO push higher. And even on a technical standpoint, as long as you're having higher highs and higher lows, then ultimately you are on a nice uptrend. And even though, yes, it looks scary when we go down and days like this, it seems like absolute madness in the market, but generally speaking, we are having higher highs and higher lows. So the trend is moving higher. So I think just the moral story is dollar cost average. I've said this time and time again, it is near impossible to catch the bottom on pretty much any stock in the market. It's very difficult. So many things switch up, like intraday is insane. But if you dollar cost average, find good company to do that with, that's how you're gonna make a lot of money, bigger picture. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Did you buy? Did you sell? What's your thoughts on Trump kind of bringing back a lot of these tariff increases and going back and forth with China? Do you think that's going to result in a very similar scenario that played out in the beginning of April, or are we done with that? Like, what's your viewpoint? Hopefully everyone has a good weekend. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you are looking for some good buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. So definitely pop over and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.